Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Wavy Pod. My name's Lucia, and I am your host. For this episode, we have a juicy one. And if this is your first time listening to my podcast, welcome. This is my first episode ever. And if this is your first time listening to this episode and you've heard other episodes, then welcome back. Thank you for being here. You're amazing. You're the best. I've procrastinated creating this podcast for the longest time ever. It's just something that fear, trauma, anxiety, and all that good stuff that happens to all of us had kind of like created this fear in me to the point where I felt that I wasn't good enough to create a podcast, that I didn't know enough to create a podcast, that just all the limiting beliefs that we all have in our heads to essentially procrastinate doing the things that we want to be doing. And I said, you know what, honey? No more. No more of that nonsense. If we want to do something, we're going to do it regardless of our anxieties and our fears and our limiting beliefs and our imposter syndrome and all that good stuff that happens to us when we feel that way. And I recently learned this from this lady that I was just watching her YouTube video, and I need to start taking notes of things that changed my life, essentially. Like, this thing honestly and truly changed my life. Like, I don't say that about a lot of things, and for this specific subject to have changed my life, I should have at least remembered her name. If I remember her name, I'm gonna put it down in the show notes. But essentially what this lady said is that you're pretend like you're in the car driving and you're in control of the whole situation, and you have your anxiety and your fear and your imposter syndrome as different people that you're driving around in the car. Essentially, you're in control. You're the one driving, and you should not let your anxieties and your fear and your imposter syndrome drive. You're going to tell them, you're coming with me to do this thing, for example, to create this podcast or to start your YouTube channel or to start a business, to do whatever it is that you want to do. You're coming with me. You're telling your anxieties and your fear and your imposter syndrome, you're coming with me, whether you like it or not. You can get off the car if you want to. We're going. And essentially what this is creating, it's creating a sense of getting it done no matter what. It's helping you to stop procrastinating the things that you want to get done. Because the way that I thought about this before was essentially you needed to work on your fears, anxiety, imposter syndrome, your confidence in order for you to be able to get to the things that you want to get to. You needed to work on that first. You needed to make sure that you had no anxieties, and make sure that you were completely okay, and then do the things that you want to do. So I thought it was just this long process of being able to be your best self, of getting to the point where you're your best self. And it's not true at all. It's just another form of procrastination, essentially. We are going to do the things that we want to do regardless of everything that is going on. We're going to find a way, we're going to figure it out and just do what it takes. That's all it is. Every single excuse that we tell ourselves and every single thing and narrative that we tell ourselves are just ways of procrastination. And anyway, that's my little intro for this episode. That is just a little explanation of the things that I went through to get to this point where I'm at today. And now I want to start talking about the subject of this episode, which is essentially which is why am I talking about procrastination? We're not talking about procrastination today. That was just the intro of the video. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how people pleasing is ruining your creativity, is killing your creativity. And that's coming from someone who's a people pleaser in recovery, okay? We were the type of person that would put every single person, stranger, no stranger, friends, family, loved ones, people that I hated before me, before my needs and my desires and everything that I wanted. So people pleasing is honestly one of the most normal things out there. Most of us are people pleasers. Most of us want to make sure that everybody's okay, everybody's good. It's just different levels of it. And the issue lies when you're a people pleaser who is addicted to the feeling of people pleasing, whether that's good or bad, and who made it a habit. If you made people pleasing your habit, that's when we have an issue. That's when it becomes a problem. Okay? We first need to understand what is people pleasing? What is the definition of people pleasing? A people pleaser is a person who puts others first. And I'm going to go on Google really quick And I'm going to look up what is people pleasing so I can tell you the exact definition of what Google is saying people pleasing is. According to Google, it says, generally, it describes a person who consistently strives to please others, often sacrificing their own wants or needs in the process. They tend to do anything possible to avoid conflict, even if it means turning into an entirely different person. Okay, that last part, even if it means turning into an entirely different person, that's the part that is screwing your creativity. That's the part that it's ruining and killing your creativity, your authenticity, thinking outside the box, all that good stuff. All the stuff that makes us who we are and it makes you you as a person, you. So, you are a people pleaser if you are the type of person who's constantly analyzing other people's behaviors, emotions to ensure that everything's okay, to ensure that the environment that you're in is safe for you. You are a people pleaser if you're the type of person who struggles to say no to someone. If someone's inviting you to their birthday party or their kid's fifth year birthday party and you don't even know this person, you will say yes, regardless of you wanting to go or not. You're the type of person who will constantly ensure that the family dynamics are okay, that if there's an argument between mom and dad or mom and son or whoever it is at home, you're going to ensure you're the one that's making sure that everybody in the family is okay. You're going to ensure that the space and the environment that you live in is okay, is safe, regardless of what you feel inside, regardless of your beliefs, your wants, your needs, anything. You're going to ensure that everybody else is okay before you. If you're a people pleaser, you're going to be acting as the type of person that everybody wants you to act as. If you're a people pleaser, you're the type of person who hates conflict. So if you have a problem with someone, you're going to bottle it up inside and you're not going to say absolutely anything. And weeks, months, years could go by and you will still not say anything. And then eventually years go by and you explode because nobody can bottle up as many things as that. It's just not possible. But in order for you to avoid conflict, you're not going to say anything. In order for you to avoid that icky conversation with someone that essentially makes you feel this fear as if you're going to die, as if you had like a lion behind you attacking you, you are just not going to say anything. Like, why would you say something? Doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. It's not a nice feeling. And if you can relate, it is something that is fixable. And I'm just going to start out by telling you exactly why it's killing your creativity. And obviously, it does more than just killing your creativity. This episode specifically is talking about how it's killing your creativity. But essentially, the more time passes by of you acting like this person that everybody wants you to act as, of you being the peacemaker, of you not being able to say no to anybody, of you constantly negating and ignoring you, your core, your essence, the more time passes by of you doing this, the less you know yourself, the less you know your personality, the less you know your needs and wants and hopes and dreams and everything else that comes with it, because you're constantly ignoring them, putting them in the back burner, just waiting. The more we please, the more we're going to struggle to think outside the box. It's just is what it is. Let's pretend you're having a conversation with somebody, and in that conversation, they're asking you your opinion on a specific subject. Instead of you thinking and asking yourself, like, do I like that? Do I want that? You are going to analyze the other person and you're going to see, like, what do they want me to answer? Are they going to be happy with this answer? Are they going to like me with this answer? Are they not going to like me if I answer a certain way? So you're more worried about what the other person is going to think instead of what you actually think. So you're practicing that muscle, that habit. You're practicing that habit of never listening to yourself. You're practicing an area of you that's not you. You're not even letting your personality shine in a way that it should when you're asking for your opinion, when someone's asking for your opinion and your needs and your wants and anything else. Instead of asking yourself your beliefs, your wants and needs, you're just killing that side of you. You're just killing that side of that creative side of you that could potentially be thinking outside the box and deciding who you are as a person. And don't worry, you're not really killing that side of you. You're just making it weaker and weaker and weaker. The same way that you can make it weaker is the same way that you can make it stronger. And how do we make it stronger? We make it stronger by practicing that side of you. We make it stronger by constantly listening to your core and listening to yourself and going through with what you're saying. The craziest part is that if you're not listening to yourself, you're 100% not trusting yourself and deviating yourself from where you're supposed to be going. If you were in a meditative state and you're thinking about where you're supposed to be going and this is the path that you're supposed to be taking you to your core and your essence, you know inside of you exactly where you're supposed to be going. And that's already something that's really hard to do. Like for the normal person, that's really hard to do. We all struggle with decision making, with knowing what option to take. We're constantly trying to get to the best outcome possible because we're just looking for perfection. But instead of looking for perfection, if you actually truly were to listen to yourself, you know exactly where you're supposed to be going. But that muscle is really hard to practice. And you don't completely lose that part of you. You just made it weaker. You're essentially just prioritizing other people's opinions over your own authentic expression. And people pleasing, it's not something bad. It's not something to say that, oh my God, that person is a people pleaser. Like that sucks. It could be something good. It could be like you're a mom and you want to please your kids and your husband and your loved ones. Of course, you want to do that. And there are ways to do it without sacrificing that side of you, without sacrificing your confidence and your creativity and putting yourself first and ensuring that your needs are met instead of other people coming before you. And there are ways for you to be able to get to a point where it's more of a balance. And the first tip that I have, just take out a piece of paper so that you can take these notes. The first tip that I've actually never heard anyone talk about this, but it's essentially to do a strategic people pleasing. It's a strategic people pleasing because you're in control of when it's happening. The way that it works is that we're going to be very strategic in the times that we're people pleasing. So if you were with your boss and your boss needs something from you that's outside of your requirements, this is just a hypothetical example. And your boss wants you to do something outside of work hours, and you struggle to say no because you're a people pleaser, right? Well, no, we're going to be very strategic behind this. So you're in control and you're going to say, do I want to make this work? Do I want to ensure that my boss is happy with me, even though it's outside of the work hours? Yes or no? Yes, I do want to do that because it's going to put me up for that promotion that he's been talking about, and I want to ensure that I'm on his good side and blah 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 blah. Whatever it is, whatever your explanation is. And then you're going to consider, I don't really want to do it, but if I do this, I'm going to benefit from this situation. So in that case, you're in complete control of deciding whether you want to do that thing or not. It has to come from you. It can't come from the fear of being a people pleaser. It has to come from the strategy that you're using behind the people pleasing. So if it's something that's going to benefit you, then you're going to say, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. Okay, be very strategic with the things that you do and the way that you say it. So if you're going to tell your boss, like, hey, this is actually outside of my work hours, but, you know, say that, but I'm going to make an exception today because I do want to progress in the project that we're currently working on, whatever it is. So if you're you set your first of all, you set your boundaries, which is essential for when you're a people pleaser. Second of all, you're making it known that you're making an exception for this person because you want to make them happy. And third of all, you're going to be on their good side. And that's how it's very strategic. Does that make sense? Now, the second one is practicing saying no. We're going to practice, 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 practice. The first time that you say no is going to feel so uncomfortable to the point where you're going to want to throw up and pass out and shake. Like, I'm telling you, it feels like you're sick to your stomach. If you're an actual person that suffers from people pleasing, it gives you so much anxiety to say no that you just say yes and move on, right? And do the things that you don't want to be doing. But that's the worst thing you could be doing because it's literally deviating you from where you're supposed to be going. If you're doing something that you don't want to do, that you truly don't want to do, and it's not making you happy at all, and it's not the right place where you're supposed to be going, it's deviating you from your path. It's deviating you from where you're supposed to be going. So it's literally taking you away from your goals and your dreams and taking you away from your best self, taking you away from where you're supposed to be. Okay? Like the more you do that, the more your path is going the wrong way because you're not listening to yourself and you're not listening to your core again, right? But The more we practice saying no, the first time you say no, you're going to shake, you're going to throw up, whatever, right? The second time, you might just shake a little bit and you're still going to say no. And it's going to be a terrible time, but it's going to be a little bit better than the last time. And now the 10th time that you do this, it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to be like, I didn't really want to do that, but whatever, it's done. Like I did it, And then afterwards, you're going to feel so much more confident in yourself that you're going to feel this authority within yourself to actually make decisions and choices and be as creative as you possibly can, because you're letting yourself be you, because you're letting your inner core make the decisions, not your anxiety, not your fears. Because when you're people pleasing, that's a part of you that's making the decisions. When you're people pleasing, your anxiety, your fears, and everything else are the ones controlling your life and making those decisions for you. You're not. You're not. Pretend that those are different people. Your anxiety is one person, your fear is another person, your imposter syndrome is another person. Like these are completely different people than who you are, and they're the ones controlling your life, not you. Until you say, hey, I'm the one in control, right? The next tip number 3, is to take into consideration that no is neither positive or negative. Make that a new belief in your life. When you say no, it doesn't mean it's a negative thing. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean anything. No is just no. It just is something. It's neither good or bad. And that's the same thing as yes. Yes, it's neither good or bad. We're the ones that put meaning behind it. And if you're putting the meaning behind a no, making it a negative thing, then that's what it's going to be, because you're the one putting the meaning behind it. If you want to make a no be something neutral, then that's what it's going to be, because that's you literally put the meaning behind it. And whenever you're making a decision to say no to someone, no, it's no. No, it's just no. No, it's it. Like there's no reason as to why you should have these negative feelings behind saying that answer, because they don't have a meaning. They literally have absolutely no meaning. You're the one deciding, like, if I say no, it's going to be a terrible thing and it's going to be such a negative thing that everything's going to be bad and I'm not going to be in a safe space. That's essentially what it could feel like if you choose to feel that way. Because we're in control, right? We make those decisions. And then my 4th and last tip is to take into consideration and make it okay that once you make this change in your life, a lot of people are not going to be happy with you. Your loved ones and everyone that you surround yourself with are going to be like, who is this person? And where is my people pleaser friend or daughter or son at? Because you were the type of person that was constantly making others feel good. And when they don't have that person anymore, they're going to go into shock. They're going to be like, what is going on? And why isn't she doing what I'm telling her to do? Why isn't she telling me what I need to hear? Why isn't she agreeing with everything that I say? And the people that are your family and your loved ones, at the beginning, they're going to be mad at you, but that doesn't mean that they're going to love you unless they're still going to love you. They're still going to be there for you. They're still going to have a beautiful relationship with you. But at first, it's just going to be a shock. And you need to be okay with that. You need to go into it with that mindset that that's going to happen and it's going to be okay. And it's essentially going to be for the benefit of everybody else, because you can't be you without truly expressing yourself. And the friends that you lose on the way of this progression, on the way of this transformation, then they weren't meant to be there in the first place. And that's totally okay. I went through most of my teenage years and probably my early 20s being the worst people pleaser in the world. And I think, in my opinion, my theory is that being a people pleaser comes from, it's a combination of like nature and nurture. So potentially it's a personality thing. It's a personality trait that you were born that way, that you were born to be that people pleaser essentially. And then it also comes from trauma. It comes from your parents potentially being too harsh on you when you were little. It comes from potentially you having a very chaotic house where you were not in a safe environment per se, and you had to make it safe. And in order for you to make it safe, you had to be a people pleaser and ensure that everybody was okay around you. So there's several reasons as to why someone could be that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's one path and like that's it. You potentially were born that way, and that was just for your personality. And the saddest part is that I went through most of that period of time, just my teenage years and my early 20s, not really knowing myself, not really knowing my hopes and dreams and wants. And I would just constantly ask myself just different ideas, different things, even my creativity. I think the part of me that suffered the most was my creativity, which is why I'm making this video. And it took me years of practice, of constantly working on this specific muscle to be able to get to the point where I'm at today. And I've progressed so much. So it's just going to be something that you have to be very patient with and be okay with taking 2 steps forwards and 3 back. Like, it's going to take some hard work because it's fears and it's limiting beliefs and it's not having the confidence to step up for yourself. And getting out of that is honestly really hard. The first step is to admit that you are going to make a change, and then following through with a plan, with having an actual plan using the steps that I just gave you. That's going to help you a ton. And if you feel that your creativity is suffering because of this, just know that it's something that it's very malleable. It's something that you're capable of changing whenever you decide to change. Like, again, you're in control. So whenever you choose to be the time that you're like, okay, I'm going to make a change, that's exactly when it's going to happen. But if you don't change anything, then nothing's going to happen. Like, don't expect your life to change because you haven't really taken the steps to change. And I was constantly seeking. So, a people pleaser is a person who's constantly seeking for other people's approval. So, you're constantly acting in a way that you think is going to be okay for everybody. You're constantly making sure that people are going to like you. So, you're not truly showing yourself out there. You're not truly talking in a way or in communicating in a way that resonates with you. You're communicating in a way that you think is going to resonate with other people. And that's just you hiding yourself for years and years and years and years until you're like, who am I? Like, who is this person that has never really done a thing or said a thing that is truly her? Unless if you're coming home and practicing in front of the mirror, like what you would have said if you weren't people pleasing and if you didn't have these anxieties. But no one's really doing that. No one's really practicing these muscles. And now it's time. Okay, you gotta get the ball rolling. You gotta get the ball rolling. When I was thinking about this episode, the way that I was imagining it. Why can I pronounce that? When when I was thinking about this episode, the way that I was imagining it, it was essentially imagine if you had a puzzle, and every single time, imagine the puzzle is already complete. It's already done, and the puzzle is you. Is your personality, like who you are. Okay, every single time that you are not listening to yourself, that you're going with whatever the other person said, that you're not saying no to someone, that you are just essentially ignoring that part of you that it's your essence, that is your core because you're trying to please others. One little piece comes out. Every single time that you do this, another little piece comes out, and another little piece comes out, and another little piece comes out. Like, every single time you're losing these pieces of you. And when the time comes that it's time for you to, when someone asks you, like, hey, do you like this? Or do you agree with this? Is this something that you believe in? And you go to your puzzle to answer the question and it's not there. And you're like, what is going on? I'm not complete. Like, I don't have those sides of me. And it's going to be hard to like put those pieces back, but it's not impossible. It's not something that is completely lost. Like, you still have those pieces in you somewhere. You just have to find them and like allocate them again into the puzzle. And once you do, you're literally going to be the happiest person alive. Like, maybe not the happiest person alive, but the most fulfilled because you were following your purpose. You're following what you want and what you need. You're following what your highest self is telling you to do. And doing that is working on the highest good for everybody because it's essentially a very selfish thing to people please because you're lacking everybody else of what you came into this earth to do. Everybody comes into this world with a purpose, with a personality, with their gifts that they have, with their creativity that they have. And the moment that you're not using them because you want to please others, you're stepping away from that purpose. You're stepping away from those gifts that you have that you were supposed to share with everybody else. So you're literally neglecting other people of you as a person. So it's not only affecting you, but it's also affecting everybody else around you. Like, potentially, imagine if a person truly needed to hear your opinion on something and you didn't, you just agree with them, and they made their entire decision, and they based their entire decision on you agreeing with them when you were potentially meant to say your true honest opinion on that subject. Like, it's a little selfish, right? It's just, there's so many ways to look at this that just brings you back to the same point, that people pleasing is killing your creativity and it's killing you to your core, to your essence. Okay, so yeah, just remember, it's not all lost. The transformation starts once you decide to make a change, and just bring yourself back. Bring the pieces back into the puzzle of you and your creativity. Well, that's all I have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you took notes for everything that we went through during this episode. And if you did enjoy this episode, please don't forget to leave me a review, because it's going to help me a ton to be able to make more of these episodes for you guys. If you made it to the end of this episode, leave me a big no in capital letters, at literally NO, on my last post on my Instagram, so that we can start practicing saying no to people. So just say no. And it's gonna be the funniest thing in the world. We're gonna say no, 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 no. We're gonna see a bunch of comments on my last post of different people saying like no, 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 no. And people are gonna be like, what is going on? And we're gonna have our little inside joke, a little secret. Okay, just leave me a no, a big NO on my last post on my Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please leave me a review so that we can continue on this project, on this path together. And I am so excited that I'm taking you guys along with me. Have a beautiful morning, afternoon, night, whenever it is that you're watching this. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.